We all make choices. But in the end, our choices make us. So choose wisely. Subscribe to It's Erik Nagel wherever podcasts are found. And leave a positive review, won't you kindly?
And I'm feeling... So that's what I was saying with the story before.
Yeah.
After my first drink, he just came over and told everything's on the house, and they just kept coming over and refilling my Jameson cut for a 90-minute soccer game.
It's not bad.
No, it's not. Until, like, the game had to end and everyone left, and I was like, I have to sit here for a little while before I go home.
Did your World Cup runneth over? Get it?
It's Erik Nagel. And it starts now.
What up, my Nagel? 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 Talking about George R.R. Martin, not writing. Talking Marvel versus DC, who's more exciting? Talking George Lucas's legacy, high-scoring centipede. Talking Gittle's new beef burrito recipe. Talking about Stephanie McMahon versus Sable. Talking about the Cybermen versus the Weeping Angels. Don't blink, the dialect's more deadly than you think. Talking summer ale, blueberry pale, craft beer, pouring drinks. What up, my Nagel? Deadpool 2 features Cable. Talking Funko Pop, celebrity signed a label. Talking online gaming, bitchin' and complaining. Talking E-Rock, kissing the feet of Matt Groening. Warner Brothers properties, Superman's a mockery. Weird Al concerts, Kevin Smith's debauchery. Rick and Morty fun zone. The Lego build team, can I have your attention? Possible Donkey Kong kill screen. What up, my Nagel? What up, my Nagel? What up, my Nagel? What up, my Nagel?
Ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear.
It's Erik Nagel.
Hello, welcome to another edition of It's Erik Nagel, that is me. We are sans Matt OG. He had some family stuff he has to take care of, but he should be back with us next week. Over in the Upside Down is Gittles.
What up?
And Trevor Endeavor is over there. Trevs and Devs, as the ladies like to call him.
Hi.
Hi. He's right over
Not
there.
a lady. I like to call them Trevs and Devs.
No, but have you followed our social media as of late? There's been ladies that love the hashtag.
I am like Frankenstein, and that's Frankenstein's monster or whatever. You know. Like,
well, he doesn't want to accept his own name.
I like to fight the power whenever I can.
You're so anti-Trevs. Joining us also a little bit early, which is great. We love talking to him, is our pal Brian Shea from Game Informer. He's back from the trip of going to E3 that he said he wasn't going on.
I pulled the wool over all of your eyes. It's crazy.
It was a plan.
Last time we had him on the show, we did this whole thing. We were talking about stuff that they were hoping to see at E3, some other game news that had just come out. And he said, unfortunately, this year, I'm not going to the thing. It would be nice to go. And then the next day, guess what? I'm going to E3. So you lied to us.
How dare you?
It was pretty wild. Basically, one of our editors couldn't go last minute, so they just slotted me into all of their appointments. So it actually worked out in my favor because I love going to E3. But yeah, it was a whirlwind trying to get that all set up. And like, I flew out, I think 5 days after I found out I was going. So as somebody who's done cons yourself, like, you know how much planning goes into it.
Oh,
so
my
it's
God,
kind of,
months.
It's insanity to say, like, I'm going to go on 5 days notice. But hey, I pulled it off. I'm still tired from the trip, but it all worked out.
But they had your hotel and everything already scheduled for you?
That was the tricky part. So we had to do a little song and dance with rearranging some hotel arrangements, but it all worked out, so can't complain.
Well, for those who don't know, Brian Shea has been on our show for many, many years, giving us game updates. We got to get your feature started soon. It's all ready to go. We just got to actually initiate it and launch it on the program. But he is your senior digital what? What's your title?
The digital editor.
Digital
of
editor
Game Informer.
for Game Informer. Game Informer magazine. You should definitely subscribe to it. I got my new copy the other day right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Anthem on the cover this month.
The artwork's amazing.
I mean, Anthem, it was one of the big announcements last year when they revealed it. And this year they did like a whole deep dive about it, and it looks incredible. And I mean, obviously part of that deep dive was having the game on our cover. Basically, think like Destiny style, like this is the elevator pitch really. Right. Destiny style gameplay with like Mass Effect style combat,
Right.
with the ability to fly around like Iron Man.
Yeah. It looks so much fun. I was watching the whole presentation from E3 when they were doing it. And I was like, man, I want to play this right now.
Right.
Like,
Can
it
we
looks so much fun.
remove the story and just let me fly around and destroy things?
I mean, I think you can. Like, I think it's like you have to do like story missions, but you can pretty much just go crazy with the flight stuff, and you can like determine how much like thruster you want to put on it, and and apparently it feels like a dream flying around, which is like I think the most important aspect of the whole equation is like Destiny is fun because it feels unbelievable to shoot. And I think Anthem is going to be fun because it's going to feel unbelievable to fly, which is great.
Let me ask you a question. A lot of and we'll really dive into the E3 announcements in a second, but a lot of game developers seem to be going or leaning more into the big trend right now, which is the battle royale style of gaming. Some people were worried about if they're just going to do the multiplayer thing, they're not going to worry about an actual game itself, like a single-player campaign. And a battle royale style game like Fortnite, like PUBG, does well without having a major story. I mean, you figure out what you're doing in the combat, and you just repeat the same things over and over. Do you think they could actually just put out what I guess the term is a sandbox game, like a multiplayer style thing where there's really no story. You just go through a whole multiplayer world without having a point. Like, do you think that would get over with gamers?
I mean, Minecraft pretty much does that already, right? Like, that's like the definition of a sandbox game, and you can join up with other people and play. I mean, I think
that's kind of what the new Fallout sounds like too.
The Fallout, I think the new Fallout is going to have a story. They haven't really revealed all that much about it, Fallout 76, but yeah, I think that it would work out. Like, Minecraft was obviously a huge deal. It still is to this day. They just announced this week that you can now do cross-play with Xbox and Nintendo Switch of Minecraft, which is awesome. And they're throwing a lot of shade at PlayStation because PlayStation is reluctant about letting anybody do any cross-play whatsoever unless it's with PC, which is they don't view as a competitor. But I think that just like Battle Royale, and just like MOBAs before that, and just like rhythm games before that, there's going to be a bubble that bursts if a bunch of developers start jumping in on that. And people are going to be like, oh, wow, this one experience is really cool and novel and fun, but I don't need 25 games like this in the next year. So I think that any trend, there's a market for any of these trends, as is demonstrated by the Battle Royale trend right now. But at some point, it is going to just be like, all right, enough is enough.
Yeah, it does happen where I'll link it to fonts. When somebody comes out with a new style of font, everyone's like, oh my God, this font's amazing. Then they use it so many times, and you're like, stop using that damn font. It's annoying.
That's why I only write in Wing
or memes on social media.
Yeah.
that should have got more, Trevor. That was a good line.
Thank you.
So, all right. So let's dive into what happened in E3 here. Also joining us, by the way, is our buddy Randy from NECA Toys. He is here. It's been a weird traffic day for everybody, so everything is all good.
It sucked.
Oh, wait. Hold on. There you go.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, it was one of the worst. Over an hour to get here, and it's not that far away.
No, not at all.
No. We got to move the time, or I'm going to start Skyping in. I can't handle
Why
traffic.
not? Everyone else is.
Yeah, what the heck?
Point.
I'm starting to seriously consider it myself.
I could barely hear Trevor. Is he on?
Yeah, Trevor talks like a young girl. He just
I can't hear him at all.
He's very breathy.
Yeah, I can't hear. I really can't hear Trevor at all. That's what I'm saying.
He's very breathy.
Seductive.
Last time you said I was too loud.
Yes. Your peaks and valleys, my friend. Find a happy medium. So anyway, Randy, we're talking with our pal Brian Shea from Game Informer. He was out at the big E3 convention last week. He's going to give us some updates on what's going on in the gaming community. Yep. And then we'll get to all the fun things going on with NECA at San Diego Comic-Con.
Sure. Sounds good.
Brian, what do we have?
Oh, man. Well, the talk of the show was Cyberpunk 2077, which...
is that a Billy Idol album? No?
Sounds like it.
He had a Cyberpunk thing.
It's from CD Projekt Red, who you know from The Witcher 3 and that whole series. It's a game that's been in development, I think, since 2012. And they finally kind of pulled the curtains back and showed us what it is. And they not only showed us like the first trailer, first real trailer besides like those dumb little teasers that every developer drops now. And I got a 50-minute gameplay demonstration, which was awesome. So basically you play as a character named V. You're in the year 2077, as the name implies, and you're a mercenary. So you're going around completing these missions, doing these heists, doing odd jobs for different characters. It's a huge open world.
Right.
And like there's like an underground area. There's like an overworld type thing. Like think almost like what we see with like Gotham City, where there's like a kind of like an underworld and an overworld, and there's like verticality in the world. So it's not like if you play The Witcher 3, like that world is freaking huge, but it's all like one flat expanse or like some mountains. But like this, it's like a futuristic city where there's different levels to it. And you know, you interact with all the characters in the world. There's a billion NPCs on the screen at any given time. Like the world just seems like it's going to be bustling and feel like an actual living city. And you unlock all these augmentations. Like in one scene in the demo, V goes to a which, by the way, V is completely customizable down to what gender you want to play. Different like classes that also can branch over into the other classes, so you're not like stuck in that one archetype. If you choose to be like a shoot first, ask questions later kind of player, like you can eventually unlock like the tech stuff if you want to go into that route. So you V is going around doing all these missions, and like you can unlock all these augmentations, and one of the sequences shows her like actually getting the implant put in her arm to do something. And it's wild. Like one of the moves she got was for her gun, she can actually bounce bullets off of like the wall. So there's a guy hiding.
I thought you were going to say her
abs. Yeah, shredded. Yeah, she can like if there's a guy hiding behind cover, you can actually shoot on the wall and like set it in such a trajectory that it would bounce off the wall and into the guy behind cover. Like and it's a first-person shooter game. Also, it's not like third-person like The Witcher. So
wow.
They're taking it in a completely different direction. But there's still all those RPG elements. There's like extremely like do whatever you want in terms of romancing. You can develop relationships with different characters. Like it's wild the stuff they're doing, and it's ambitious as hell.
Like to me, it kind of looked like, because I know Cyberpunk 2077 started as like a tabletop RPG, and this looks like GTA mixed with D&D, but like in the future. Like that's kind of like how I viewed it.
And a taste of Deus Ex as well, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's not a bad comparison right there.
So you're saying it's everything you love in a video game.
It looks freaking phenomenal. Nice. And I can't wait to see what else we learn. I think we're going to hear more later this year at one of the fall festivals. So hopefully we can learn even more about that. Maybe even get a release window, which is absurd about this game because we've been hearing about it for 5 years now, 6 years, and this is the first time we've actually gotten any concrete details.
What was crazy is how like Twitter just like erupted during the trailer. Like everyone's like, "Oh my God, Cyberpunk 2077!" and like everyone was like, "I need to get this game immediately."
Yeah, it's wild how much buzz that game got. And I mean, it was by appointment only. Like they only let members of the press in. But even with that knowledge, and even though they were saying that over and over again, every time I walked up there was a line of like at least probably 50 people just waiting on standby in case a member of the press didn't show up, and they could say, "Oh, we got one slot for you guys to get in this theater presentation." And it was just swamped every single time I went up there, despite the constant announcements that they're probably not going to get in, and if it is, it's probably only going to be the first couple of people. So yeah, that was definitely the most talked about game at the show. That was my favorite game of the show, and it was what won game of the show for us at E3 as Game Informer as a whole.
Oh, awesome.
But another game that I really loved, which I mean should be no surprise at all, is Spider-Man on PS4. If you've been following that at all, it's from Insomniac Games. We recently had the game on our cover, and I was sold from the first trailer they showed, but like I actually got my hands on it this time.
Why is it exclusive to the PS4? Is it because of the Sony connection to the movie?
I think Sony is just funding it.
Okay.
Like they are the ones that are publishing it. Insomniac Games, who has a great relationship with Sony, despite one of their recent games, Sunset Overdrive, being an Xbox One game. They've just they've always had a great relationship with PlayStation from the Ratchet and Clank days all the way up to what they're doing now with Spider-Man.
So is this a different Spider-Man than the one that they showed last year, or is this like
the same one?
Same one, just with more stuff.
Yeah, so I actually got my hands on it this time. Last time it was just a guided gameplay demo with somebody playing, and then like the director was talking to us behind closed doors about it. But this time, like I actually got to play it. The web slinging, like swinging from building to building, feels fantastic. You hold the right trigger and he shoots out a web, and then you swing and then you let go of that trigger. So it actually feels like you're grabbing something and releasing, and it's awesome. And the combat almost reminds me of kind of like Arkham Asylum, only not quite as like lock on to the enemies. Like you're just kind of fluid in how you move from enemy to enemy, but like people are coming at you from all directions. But the spider sense mechanic kind of makes sense in that, because like you'll see like the squiggly lines over Spider-Man's head, and you push like I think it's the circle button to dodge. And then suddenly, if you did it right, like you'll do this flashy dodge over a rocket that was just shot at you from like 50 feet away. You didn't even know a guy was there. But like the spider sense mechanic makes sense with that. Whereas like for Batman, it was just kind of like, oh, I don't know. He's just really good at fighting, so he knows.
Behind you. Oh,
yeah. So that game is awesome. I can't wait for that. That comes out in September, so we don't have that much longer to wait. And then I would say Smash Brothers, which was Nintendo's big beat this time around for Switch. Man, they really came out swinging with every character who's ever been in Super Smash Brothers is now in this game. So it really lives up to the name of Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
We mentioned
and it
this
plays just like the Wii version.
We mentioned this last week. What was the big deal that the Waluigi character wasn't in there? Why was that an issue?
It's just become one of those internet things. Like
just to hate because they can?
He's never been in a Super Smash Brothers game aside from as an assist trophy, and they've only added, I think, 3 new characters. They added the Inkling from Splatoon, they added Daisy, and they added Ridley from Metroid.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, somebody, I think it was the Washington Post, made like a joke article like saying Waluigi was robbed and humiliated by Nintendo. Just saying like, hey, it's a disaster that he's not in this, like joking around. And I guess a lot of like internet people just picked it up and ran with it and have been tweeting at the director of the game, and he's been blocking them because I guess he just doesn't want to hear that crap anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he's sick of it. He's like, hey, we revealed our game. It looks awesome. Everybody's really loving it, but you guys are just annoying the hell out of me.
What if they just work him into the opening credits of the game, and then the trophy falls down and squashes him, and now he's dead. He can't be part of the game.
He's never in another Nintendo game ever again.
Exactly. He's
the Sean Bean of Switch games. He just dies in every game.
Yes. Such a worthless character.
Well, he is an assist trophy, so like you can get him in the game. You just can't play as him.
It's a travesty, is what it is.
You played the Wii U version of Super Smash Brothers. It plays similar to that. There's just a lot, like thousands and thousands of character tweaks and like a ton of new levels, or not new levels, but a ton of levels from like the past. Like there's, if you played the N64 version, the Pokemon Stadium returns from that.
Yes.
And they actually have like all the old school Pokemon sprites. Like it's a 3D level, but like the Pokemon that pop out and attack in that look like they did when they were on N64. So it's kind of cool in that regard, seeing a nod to where that level came from.
You always get pissed off when Chansey pops out.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what any of that means, but
feels it.
People like it, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, those were the big games that I really loved. I think The Last of Us Part 2 looks incredible as well.
I got to finish that. I started that a while ago, and I never finished the story. I got to do that.
Yeah, The Last of Us, I mean, if you have the remastered edition on PS4, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's the one I got.
I don't think we have a release date for The Last of Us Part 2 yet, but I would imagine it's next year, probably later in the year.
What is this? Look, the ending to that game got spoiled to me because I stupidly said, hey, I'm playing this game, and then somebody sent me
never do that.
The ending, and yeah, this was years ago. But how are they continuing the story based on what the ending was for the first one?
Everything we've seen to this point shows that you are playing as Ellie, the young girl from the first one.
Okay.
And you are, I mean, we don't really know a ton, but she's older. I think it picks up 5 years if I'm remembering it correctly, after the end of the first game. and it seems like they're a little bit more established as a civilization. Like the trailer at E3 shows like they're actually holding a dance. So like they're
like the ending of Stranger Things.
They're obviously not in constant fear of zombies invading at any given moment. So it seems like they have some semblance of normalcy back in their lives. But yeah, I mean, it seems like they're going back to the notion of almost every zombie game these days where the people are more dangerous than the zombies. They're kind of playing off that notion that almost every zombie game and zombie TV show has played up since, whenever, that like the people are more dangerous than the zombies themselves. It's just the situation drives them to do these awful things. And we see that in the gameplay trailer that they showed, because she's like infiltrating an enemy camp and like taking down these humans. So it's not like I don't know what they're doing with the zombies, but like we're gonna get a sense of that, hopefully, maybe a PlayStation experience. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game. And Naughty Dog has just been at the top of their game lately with the Uncharted series. Naughty Dog's been an awesome developer since day one, but they've been on a roll with like Uncharted 4, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and now The Last of Us Part 2 is it looks like it's shaping up to be an awesome game. So
I feel bad. I have that Uncharted collection that they put out. I just never pick up the controller from my PS4. I have it. I just never do anything with it.
But
I don't know why.
You have Last of Us, you have Uncharted collection, you haven't played any of them, or you've played a little bit of Last of Us, it sounds like.
I played a little bit of Last of Us. I never finished the story. I never opened the Uncharted game. I have it. I want to. I just don't know why I look at the PS4 and like I don't really want to play it.
So you can probably skip one. Like if you want to really know what the story is, I guess you can play it, but it's definitely a product of its time. Uncharted 1 has some really weird design, really weird pacing. The foundation of the games are there, but Naughty Dog really hit its stride with 2. And 3 I like too, but it's not as good as 2.
Let me ask you this. Based on what I just said about having some weird hang up with the PS4, I can play, I just don't. Have you seen an effect on the gaming industry where not the multiplayer games where everybody can join and play with each other, but single campaign style games or single story games where you're playing? Do you see a decline in people playing these things based on like you can watch YouTube walkthroughs or because of Twitch you can just watch people play the games so they don't have to?
I don't think so. I think that it's more developers are looking kind of towards the same metrics that the reason that we're seeing that developers are kind of trending towards making more multiplayer games these days is because like they're looking kind of less at sales. I mean, sales are obviously going to be important forever, but they're looking more at the metrics that mobile games tend to
metrics or the money that those games bring in. Because
I think both. I think metrics are a huge thing for them because they're looking at the daily active users, the monthly active users. So a game like God of War, for example, incredible game, delivers an awesome story. Everybody who plays it loves it. But there's no multiplayer to that. You just kind of jump in, you experience this story. There's a cool like exploration element to it. But probably after that first month, unless you really love that game and you don't have anything else to play, you're probably done with that game. Developers and publishers are kind of going more towards like we want to give players reason to keep coming back to these games. That's why we're seeing games like Destiny. That's why we're seeing games like Overwatch, where it's like they keep doing these drops of either events or new drops of content, and they want people to keep coming back for more. That's not to say single player campaigns are dead. I just think that's why we're seeing more people or more developers and publishers embrace that convention, because it also, like you said, it provides additional monetization opportunities with like whether that's loot boxes or Destiny has a new or just put out a new expansion not too long ago, so it gives you a chance to buy that. Whereas like God of War, I think they've even said that they're not putting out any DLC. Like they're just going to move on to the next game if there is a theoretical next game. So like I would imagine that's why we're seeing that. But also like, if you look at what Sony showed off, all of those games are primarily single player games, including God of War. Like God of War is their big recent release.
Right.
Their 4 pillar games that they showed off, Ghost of Tsushima, which also looks incredible, The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, and
Death Stranding
Spider-Man.
looks so weird.
Death Stranding, we still have no idea what the
I
hell
have
that
no
is.
idea. That trailer where there's just like bodies hanging from like umbilical cords in the middle of a forest. Like, what the hell is happening in this game?
Here's the thing.
And Norman Reedus as Daryl, as Norman Reedus. Like, I have no idea what's happening in this game.
They were like, all right, we're going to show the first gameplay of Death Stranding. And everybody's like, finally, we get some answers of what this game is. And then
it's just
more
questions.
More questions than answers. So
it's like
we're
Homer
back to
watching Twin Peaks. He's like, oh, it's brilliant. I have no idea
Could
what's
that be
happening.
the strategy at this point where there's so many questions, so many curiosities are piqued because they don't know what the game is, that they're saying, well, let's not really tell them what the game is. Let's just put it out, and everyone tries to figure it out on their own, like an art house flick.
It's possible they could do that. I mean, but I think also, I mean, I'm kind of, I have a certain tolerance for like just being so abstract with the way they tell us what a game is. Like right now, I mean, it doesn't get much more abstract in the AAA space than what they're doing with Death Stranding. But I think a lot of people are also giving Hideo Kojima, who, you know, was the guy who created the Metal Gear series, they're giving him the benefit of the doubt as, you know, a bona fide game.
He's proven himself.
legend.
Yeah, we can wait to see what he's going to come up with.
Like, imagine if like Miyamoto was like, hey, I have a new series. I'm not really going to tell you what it is right away, but like I am really excited about it. I have like a lot of faith in this game. I have a great team working on it. Like, you'd say, all right, I'll at least give it the time of day. Like, this guy has proven himself that he's created Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong. He knows what the hell he's doing when he's creating a game. So let's.
And then it turns out just to be like Jax, you know, something really dumb that he banked all his credibility on, and saying, hey, the guy who made Mario just made this shitty game and you're going to buy it.
I mean, Legends have put out bad games in the past, and it's going to happen again.
Well, back to the single player versus multiplayer, I thought like the most interesting thing was kind of like the Fallout from Fallout 76, where like they announced that it was going to be all online multiplayer, and I got like really excited because the only thing I've wanted to do in that game is like travel the wasteland with my friends.
Oh, that'd be
but
great,
then like,
you know?
but the split review on Twitter of people being like, I just want to play by myself and not have to play on servers, and I thought it was going to be more universally accepted than it was, and I thought there was a lot more backlash than there was going to be.
So I agree that I'm excited for that game. I think that the ability to play co-op Fallout is extremely enticing. I cannot wait to jump into that. I mean, I think Fallout 4 was a good game, but it was also, you know, more Fallout. So I think that it's nice that they're taking some risks with this one. Hopefully the technology is there, because if you've played a Bethesda game since Fallout 3, when they or even before that with like Oblivion, like there's a lot of glitches in their games. So when you add online components to that, like that can just grow exponentially. So hopefully they have their ducks in a row with that. Especially
it seems like with the fact that they're already like beta testing the servers, and if you pre-order you can like start like testing it. Like it sounds like they really want to make sure that it's working before it starts.
I hope so. I mean, Bethesda is an incredible team, and I'm hoping that they can pull it off. And I think Todd Howard, who, you know, is kind of the guy at Bethesda, is directing this one in addition to his new game that they announced. So
Starfield or whatever it is.
Starfield. So I think that, I mean, it's in good hands. It's just a matter of if the team can pull that off, because they're notorious for like these amazing games with great open worlds, but, you know, a strong criticism comes from the lack of polish in some places. So I'm with you. I'm excited, but I do understand why people would be upset, because, you know, Bethesda's always been about single player experiences. At least their big IPs like Elder Scrolls and Fallout have been. You know, Elder Scrolls Online notwithstanding, but I mean, you have a certain set of expectations. Just remember when Mass Effect 3 came out, and there was that multiplayer, and people were so pissed about that. People, like, you still hear about it, even though it turned out really well. People are still, on occasion, upset about that, even though, you know, the ending controversy kind of overshadowed the multiplayer controversy at this point. But, you know, I think people are not even that they don't like, they're resistant to the idea of having a multiplayer version of a game that's traditionally single player.
Yeah. So I have like one other question. So like I enjoyed the Bethesda presentation. Like I didn't play Rage 1. I thought Rage 2 looks like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. They had Andrew WK open up their press event, which I thought was very funny.
It was. Did you see the cuts of the audience?
Yeah, they looked so bored.
These uptight, nerdy assholes didn't understand how awesome it was that you're seeing Andrew WK perform live.
And I ran into him on the show floor the next day. It was kind of cool.
Did you get wet?
I did not.
All right.
But like, how far off do you think we are from like a Bethesda con, like BlizzCon? Because it feels like Bethesda is QuakeCon. Oh, they have QuakeCon. Okay, yeah, I don't know about those things, but like I was like, this. They need their own BlizzCon type thing.
I mean, it was. I mean, QuakeCon became a Bethesda con, kind of like it's basically id Software, but now that Bethesda owns them, it's kind of evolved into a Bethesda con, but yeah, it usually is focused on like their shooters because that's where it started at. So I would imagine we're going to see more Rage this year. We're going to see maybe the first glimpse of Doom Eternal that was also announced, which I cannot wait for because the Doom that came out 2 years ago was.
You like Doom?
No, I don't do well with Doom. I'm one of those players when it's first-person shooter that likes to scream and shoot and then hide in the corner. Like I can't play Doom at all.
Life?
Doom is just like constant motion.
The best and the new Doom is really good too. But the second you walk into that room and it's like you're like, oh fuck! Like, what kind of demon do I have to kill now? Because I have this blaring awesome metal soundtrack and I know that I have to fight something that's gonna rip me apart.
Yeah, but the best Doom I ever played was Simpsons Doom. Like at least I got into that one a little bit more.
Okay, I've never even heard of that.
You never heard of Simpsons Doom?
No.
Oh, I used to play it for the PC. Mo walked around with a shotgun. He was like the normal guy.
Oh, so it was like an old Wolfenstein hex
type thing. Yeah, and Apu shot fire.
Remember the old Wolfenstein hexes, like on your computer labs in school, where you'd play Wolfenstein and like Hitler's Barney and the soldiers are Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, all the weird mods that you would have, like totally. Like, that Counter-Strike was the one that in my computer labs.
Well, what was the game that you played when we were living together, Giddles? You were up all night playing. Was that Counter-Strike?
Oh yeah, I played Counter-Strike. I loved Counter-Strike.
I played Counter-Strike with Giddles. I think once we did the LAN thing, right?
Yeah.
And there was this one time where Giddles shows me, he goes, "Watch this." He's like, "Go up the ladder." So I go up the ladder, right? And then he goes up the ladder, and then he does something. He's sort of standing there or whatever, and it prevents all the other people from coming up the ladder, and they all just get wiped out. And Giddles is just laughing. He goes, "Watch this." And they're screaming and yelling, and Giddles is just laughing.
Yeah, I'm just blocking the staircase and dropping grenades down and killing everyone like an asshole. Yeah.
Gotta make your own fun, Brian.
I got banned in so many servers.
Randy, do you play anything? You a gamer? Or?
I mean, I have everything because I kind of have to for the job, but I don't get to play nearly enough between making all this stuff and dealing with 2 kids. And
so while Brian Shea is reviewing all the games you love, Randy is making all the merchandise for the games that you love.
Well, it's true. We did God of War, which you were talking about before. We've done it in the past, but we did the new game. We're doing some more God of War for holiday release this year.
Right.
We did Crash Bandicoot, which had a really good relaunch last year. We're working on Spyro, which is going to have a pretty good relaunch, I think, the end of September. What else are we doing? Working with Valve on Team Fortress and Half-Life and Portal. So a whole bunch of stuff.
And you guys have, speaking of NECA, are you the ones that are doing the Ninja Turtles SDCC exclusive?
That is correct. Yeah, the movie set in the VHS box.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's I got the one that was like the arcade game one 2 years ago, I think, and they're still on my desk at work. So I love the stuff you guys put out.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, the Turtles thing's been fun, and we only get to do like one big release a year because we're kind of limited to convention only. We can't take them to retail.
Oh wow.
But yeah, last year we did the cartoon. The year before that was the arcade, and then this year is the 1990 movie figure set in that big VHS box, which the nostalgia play really goes a long way. People are going nuts over. I think that's the exclusive for San Diego this summer.
We'll get into more of that in the second segment, but I do want to point out I just finally saw Pacific Rim Uprising, right?
Yep.
The little girl in there is holding one of the NECA figures.
A bunch of our figures are in it, actually.
Yeah.
You know what? I still haven't watched the whole thing.
Because the movie is 10 years past the events of the first movie, And the lore of everything that's been going on with the Jaegers and has become
Jaeger bombs.
That too has become a bit of a franchise within the franchise. So this young girl that's one of the feature players in the second movie is a big fan of the whole Jaeger team and the stories behind it. She has the figures.
Oh, that's cool.
You see in her little workshop, she has the figures, and they're the figures that Randy and NECA has made. So it was kind of meta looking at that. I'm like, oh my god, it's the figures.
Yeah, it was cool.
I have that one too.
We did a whole bunch for that first movie, and they used them in a few things. So like Legendary, who's the studio behind it, had them in the background of might have been Krampus, the kids' room in Krampus. I think they used some of our.
Oh really?
Yeah, we got a lot of like set.
There was a lot of toys in Krampus.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of set dressing or product placement, which is cool. And then we did not do Pacific Rim 2, so we kind of dodged a bullet on that one. But they used all our Pacific Rim 1 toys in the movie, which is kind of cool. So
yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like we can do this and not have to pay them. And then Randy's like shaking fists vigorously at the screen.
That's cool
like,
when you
watch
you. I was watching. Sometimes you never know where stuff will pop up. A lot of times they ask, for clearances to use things and stuff like that. But one night, in order to go to sleep, I usually watch ID, Investigation Discovery, just because I like true crime and murder and all
Nothing.
So the fried
puts-
homicide.
It's what relaxes me. And one night there was
I
like
edited a bunch of those shows.
oh, they're awesome.
I need strange murders in order to soothe myself to sleep. That's
like,
my white noise.
Yeah, it works for me. Oh no! This teenager, had killed like a bunch of people, and they did like a recreation of his room, and like on his room wall was like all of our action figures and stuff. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But what are they saying about figure collectors? But it was still fun to see all this stuff.
It's a slippery slope.
Yes.
He collects them like he collected teeth.
and child's ears.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the video game stuff there. Did we cover everything for E3? Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Brian?
Just some quick hits here. They're remaking Resident Evil 2, but rather than doing like just a remaster, they're actually remaking it from the ground up. It sounds like they're going to have, like, if you ever played Resident Evil 4, which a lot of people consider like the best of the action Resident Evil, they're kind of
getting
making
a thumbs up from Randy for that.
It's my favorite one by far, and we did a ton of merchandise from that game.
For a 4?
Yeah.
Yes. So apparently they are doing, I didn't get a chance to play it, unfortunately, but they're doing Resident Evil 2 remake with kind of the gunplay of Resident Evil 4 and, like, modern graphics and all that comes with that.
4 was the reason I bought a GameCube, because, the first year it was only on the GameCube, and it had the sort of over-the-shoulder, third-person, like Gears of War type gameplay. It was really good.
Yeah, that was the reason to own a GameCube for, like, a year there, because it wasn't anywhere else.
So you guys played manly games. I was playing Windmaker on my GameCube.
I was playing Super Monkey Ball and Super Monkey Ball 2, which I still have and I still play all the time.
Was it Time Splitters where you can turn all the characters into monkeys and just hit them with Tommy guns? That's the only reason I ever played on GameCube.
Well, I'm excited because Resident Evil 2 was definitely my favorite Resident Evil. I never played 4, even though I had a GameCube, because I think I kind of like fell off gaming for a little bit. But 2 was definitely my favorite. I hope they keep it where like you had to keep switching off between characters to solve the problems like you had to do in that game. I thought that was really creative.
I think they're actually doing a different route. If I'm not mistaken, I think they might be focusing on Leon. At least the demo focused on Leon, but I think they might be doing separate campaigns. Don't quote me on that, but I think that I heard that they're doing separate campaigns altogether, so you're not switching between the characters. So they're actually like adding a bunch of content as well.
It'd be cool if it was like co-op, but you don't actually like the other person is doing their own thing wherever in the game, and then you have to like time things out. Like, I don't know, that'd be kind of cool.
Well, have you played A Way Out? It came out this year. They do that same thing where only it's like always split screen, and your characters aren't always together, but you're always both on the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
Just split right down the middle.
You try to break out of prison, right?
Yeah. It's like the I think that's the beginning, and then you're on the run after that. It's a pretty short game, I hear, but it's pretty interesting, the concept. Let's see, more stuff. Control, which is by the people who created Max Payne, and they made Alan Wake and Quantum Break a couple years ago. That looks insane to the highest degree. Like it's like it uses dream logic, kind of like Inception style stuff, where like walls just disappear and then suddenly suck in debris from like the other parts of the room. Like you're just exploring this almost endless skyscraper, and like your gun morphs. You have like Jedi-like powers. Like you can, like there was a scene where the guy was coming at you like with a shotgun, and you just lift your hand up and the floor flies up and blocks the bullets, and then you push it like a force push, and it just pushes into the guy and stuns him, and then you like push your hand over at a computer across the room, pick it up, and just smash it into the guy's head. And then you can levitate to like reach new areas. Like you just keep unlocking new powers that let you do new things, kind of like a Metroid style game where you can, all right, now I can fly, so I guess I can finally access that part of the world. And like you're walking and like you suddenly like the room is somewhere else. Like it's totally trippy, and like it's unexplainable stuff happening left and right, and it's kind of influenced by that new weird genre of or subgenre of sci-fi where like you're in a normal world where like the world is just ordinary, but like unexplainable things are being introduced into it, and there's all kinds of weird things happening that aren't really explainable by human science or human understanding.
The Stranger Things effect.
Kind of, yeah, where like something foreign comes in and like it's supernatural, and it starts these things that like you can't really comprehend with human science. So
this game, I'm looking at the trailer for Control. It looks like a bit like Inception.
Yeah, it uses that dream logic.
Yeah.
Where just like anything can happen and you have no idea like what it's going to throw at you next. Like there was a side mission that we came on where it was a guy just like on his knees staring at a refrigerator, and he was like, you got to help me. I've been on this shift staring at this refrigerator for 3 days now. If I look away, it's going to transform into something terrible. I need somebody to take over for me.
Oh,
nobody came.
He's in this.
He's
in this cube that's being monitored. Is that what?
So did they just take a bunch of stories from people who were tripping on acid and make a game around it? Like, because I've definitely walked into a room with a friend staring at a fridge like that, and like I'm trapped. I'm like, I know you are.
Yeah, sorry, buddy, we got bigger fish to fry.
It's like a blinking angel.
What we did. The guy was like, "No, you gotta help me, please come back."
It's like the weeping angel thing, dude.
Indiana Jones.
It looks like really awesome and really intense with like the stuff it's doing.
When does this come out?
2019 sometime. This was the first announcement of it.
You got my hopes up.
But yeah, it looks super cool. If you played Quantum Break, they did some really cool experimentation with like time-based powers.
Right.
Whereas this seems more like physics, like I said, like Jedi-like powers almost, where you can pick things up with your mind and throw it at stuff. Dying Light 2 was announced. The first Dying Light was really great. It's just an open-world zombie game. This looks like they're just going for it in this one.
Man, people are not getting sick of the zombie stuff.
No, they're not.
They keep adding it to more and more games.
It's a perfect explainer for why a game has the action that it does. But this one has like first-person parkour, which was in the first game. But this time they're hiring one of like the most legendary writers in the game industry, Chris Avellone. And he is implementing all these like choice-based mechanics. So actually, there's going to be a lot of player choice in this one. So they're doing some cool directions with that.
Do the zombies do parkour? Or are they going to like jump onto a tree and grab on, and then their arms rip off and their torso just hits the ground?
The thing about Dying Light is during the day they're like the traditional slow zombies, but once the sun goes down, they become like these super zombies who can like run along walls
and dance like Thriller.
Dance like Thriller.
Nice.
No soul holding them back. Mega Man 11 I finally got my hands on, which is the way I think I put it on Twitter was, this is the way you modernize a classic 2D franchise. Like everything feels smooth, the graphics look beautiful in motion. I wasn't too sure about them when I saw them. Like, so we had the game on our cover. That was the big reveal, is we had it on our cover, I think in our January issue. And in like still shots, I don't think it really puts across how awesome this game looks, but just a gorgeous modern art style, retro 2D gameplay. But they also implement things like you can enter slow motion, you can have a shield. Like there's all kinds of cool additions that don't really take away from the experience of classic Mega Man. My surprise of the show, We Happy Few. I don't know if you remember this from a few years ago. They debuted a trailer. It almost looked like a BioShock intro where like the guy refuses to take his pills that the government mandates, and then like there's this dystopian town where it's like everybody's hopped up on this hallucinogenic, it's called joy pills, where it forces you to be happy and you don't really see the world for what it is. And the premise is your character has just decided he's to hell with these pills, I'm going to see the world for what it really is. But like everybody who's hopped up on these pills want you to also take the pills to be like on the side of the happy people. So
isn't that the
like,
plot to Equilibrium, like that Matrix movie with Christian Bale, where like everyone's on the antidepressants and he stops taking them and he sees the world for what it really is, and then everyone tries to kill him?
Well, that would be the same. But yeah, so it's basically taking place, I think, in 1960, and you're on this British island that after World War II was just decimated, right. And then it's just cut off from the rest of the world. So you're trying to figure out what is happening in this world where like it's been destroyed in the war, and then it's been rebuilt by these people who are just tripping balls on this joy pill. And meanwhile, you know, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But basically what happened was it last year or the year before, after that trailer, they released an early access version of the game, and there was none of that narrative stuff whatsoever. And people bought it thinking they were getting like this BioShock-like game, and it was just this open sandbox survival game where you're just going around this town and looting stuff and like making sure you're eating and drinking. And like people were like, what the hell is this? Like, this is nothing like the trailer you guys put out at E3. And they went back to the drawing board. Much to their credit, they went back to the drawing board and reworked it pretty much from the ground up. Like some of those mechanics are still in place, but now there's over 20 hours of story content. I played it for an hour, and yeah, it plays like a story-driven game now. It like I did all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I had to infiltrate a gang hideout. I was caught by the gang members. They forced me into a fighting pit where I had to kill a guy.
And that was just real life.
Rick killed
Yeah, I mean, that was just to get to the demo.
Where do you get a grenade?
E3 is crazy.
You did. You better lay low for a while, Brian.
I don't know why I'm doing this podcast. They're looking for me as we speak. But yeah, that was my surprise of the show. That game really blew me away with how much they changed it. And also Microsoft came out with a big announcement. Like the big criticism against Microsoft this generation has been like, look at Sony, look at Microsoft, or look at Sony, look at Nintendo. They have these great exclusive games. Let's look at Microsoft. What do they have? Oh, they don't really have anything. They have some exclusive games, but they're just not on the level that Nintendo and Sony's exclusives are.
Yeah. So hold on a second. Where would you just imagine the time now where you're saying you're not on the level that Nintendo is at? I mean, like, how long has it been since people have said that?
Wow. Well, here's the thing, though. Nintendo has always had great exclusives. It's their third parties that have always been suffering. Like, they've always had Zelda. They've always had Mario. They've always had Pokemon, or at least for the past 20 years, they've had Pokemon. But yeah, Microsoft has always had Halo, and they've always had Gears of War, but those series don't have the appeal that they once did. Whereas Sony has just invested so heavily in its third-party studios that it's actually gone out and bought, like Naughty Dog, like that's and Sucker Punch. Those are great studios that they actually went out and bought. They had good relationships with them. They went out and bought them, and now they have games like Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2, which are coming exclusively to PlayStation platforms because they went out and invested in these third-party studios that they had good relationships with already. So Microsoft kind of took a page out of their book, and they announced that they acquired some studios that they've worked with in the past. They acquired...
they got a lot of studios, too.
Yeah, so they acquired Undead Labs, which does State of Decay. So they were already making exclusive games, but now they really locked those guys up. They said, all right, we're acquiring them. We're going to start really investing in them. The same thing with Playground Games, who do the Forza games. So another developer that's pretty much been making exclusive games for Xbox, but now they're locked into Xbox for the rest of their existence unless Microsoft decides to sell them. They already have Rare, which they have been kind of relegated to the Kinect games, unfortunately, lately. But they did put out Sea of Thieves, which has a cult following, I would say, at this point. But there's a lot of talent at Rare, and hopefully they find something that's a hit, like when they were making Donkey Kong Country or when they were making Banjo-Kazooie. Hopefully they find a hit like that. But that's another developer that's in their stable. But they also announced big acquisitions that weren't exclusives before. One of those was Compulsion Games, which is doing We Happy Few. And the other one was Ninja Theory, which if you played Hellblade, that was the developer behind that game, which was awesome. That was last year, and that was an incredible game. So those are big acquisitions by Microsoft. So hopefully that turns in a few years to having, a lot of good exclusive games coming out on Xbox platforms. In addition to, we did get an announcement of Halo Infinite. We got an addition of 3 new Gears of War games. And, 2 of them aren't like classic traditional Gears of War. We have a Funko Pop Gears of War game that's coming to mobile. And then you have a strategy Gears of War game that's coming to PC. But there is Gears 5 that was announced as well. So it's like, you have the existing stable of games like Halo, your Gears, your Forza that you're going to keep getting, but now you have these other games that are going to help it fill in those voids, and then also all the third-party games. So Microsoft appears to be setting themselves up well, which I think that's one of the more important and overlooked announcements of E3, was that Microsoft was kind of taking a page out of Sony's book to get to where Sony has become.
I kind of like a little, what do you call it? What do you call it when you like something but you're ashamed to admit it? What's that term?
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Well, I don't know why it's based on that, but a guilty pleasure.
Don't say guilty pleasure. Just own it. Just
no,
on, Eric.
It's a guilty pleasure that I enjoy the Forza.
Why feel guilty?
Forza's not a guilty pleasure. Are you kidding me? That's the best racing franchise out there.
Yeah, like if a guilty pleasure would be like My Little Pony game or some shit like that, not like a car racing.
No, I would
game.
openly champion that, but the car game, no.
You would.
I'm really ashamed of the fact that I like this Ferrari cruising around in this car is just awful.
I really enjoyed. The last time I got a chance to play, I should just buy the game. I never do, but I played the game somewhere, and I was like, I really enjoy this because you play enough, you get to, you get custom cars, you get different raceways. You're racing through the outback in Australia. Like, there's a lot of fun to have with this.
Forza Horizon 3 came out 2 years ago now. They announced Forza Horizon 4, which takes place in Britain this time around, but. Yeah, the Outback was an incredible location for that game. That's one of my favorite racing games of all time. Like, I adore Forza Horizon 3.
Yeah, it's right behind Cruising USA.
Oh, of course. I'm Cruising Exotic.
And Super Outrun.
Hey, I hit a giraffe and it turned into steaks. I don't know what happened when you guys played that game.
Brian, were you able to see anything at E3 with the Fortnite Pro-Am, with the outside gaming or anything like that?
I didn't go to the Pro-Am because that was during the day on the show floor, so I was in appointments all day. But I did go to the Fortnite party, which was kind of bonkers. It was probably the most expensive party I've ever seen at E3, where like they had like famous rappers and DJs performing. They had a huge stage area. They had a food court which was headlined by In-N-Out, all for free. So they were handing,
nice.
Like I was walking. And I was talking to my buddy. I'm like, dude, I need a burger or something. I haven't eaten all day because that's what happens at E3. You forget to eat.
It's also what happens in Fortnite.
Yeah,
you eat that and then the liquid shield.
You need the slurp juice, man.
There's only 100 burgers in the room, and you have to get them as fast as you can.
Wait, they had slurp
they had
juice?
That juice from Fortnite at the party where you could go and you could get it with or without vodka.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they actually had like a cup that said that. They had like photo ops all around, and then of course, the giant merch stand, which was always popular. And then they actually had a scavenger hunt going around, which I didn't take part in. I actually lost several friends to this scavenger hunt because
good, you didn't need them.
My condolences.
They would discover that there was a scavenger hunt going on, and they were like, "All right, we're gonna go do this." And I'm like, "All right, I'll catch up with you later." Then I just never saw them again.
I thought someone went to grab a burger and they all got pickaxed to death.
No, they got a burger and then the storm came in through the convention hall. You had to race to the center.
You see, you guys are just jealous because I would have built out of there and you guys don't know how to build yet.
No, I would have just been running around doing my own thing like you do in Fortnite. Brian, we're going to have to wrap this up here. Let me ask you something because you said something earlier that piqued my interest with the trailer to the one game starting to look like a new BioShock game. Was there disappointment that there hasn't been an announcement for a new BioShock game?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird that we haven't had one, but Irrational Games was kind of disbanded, kind of rebranded. Ken Levine, I think, is working on a different thing. Like, I don't know if I think he's actually working on movies now, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think, so he's the creator of the BioShock series. And yeah, I don't think he's announced anything that he's working on in the games realm, but I think he was working on a movie last I heard, or like some sort of like interactive, like Twilight Zone inspired series. So I don't know what they're doing with the BioShock series. I'm hoping it comes back soon.
Because I'm waiting for that, and I'm waiting for Valve to get off their ass and do another.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
Portal.
If they do another Portal or another Half-Life, which I think Half-Life is the longest shot. But I think the most likely scenario for Valve, I mean, they already announced Artifact, because that was the big thing, is they said, oh, we're going to start shipping games again. Here's Artifact, our collectible card game, which, is all well and good. But the people want Portal 3. They want Left 4 Dead 3. They want Half-Life 3. Earthworm Jim 3. Anything with a 3. Please, Valve, give it to us. I think that Left 4 Dead 3 would be the most likely if we're going to get a revival of one of their old franchises, or maybe Team Fortress 3, because hero shooters are kind of at the forefront again with things like Overwatch kind of taking the reins. I would love to see Valve return. I'd love to see BioShock return. I mean, there's a lot of games I would love to see come back, but nothing to report from E3, unfortunately. And Red Dead Redemption 2 was also noticeably absent, which, Rockstar rarely does anything with E3. I bet we're going to hear something from them. Like, whenever they announce anything, it's enough of an event that they don't need the pageantry of E3 to amplify their message.
They'll do some pop-up in New York City and San Diego, and
I'm sure.
That's what it'll be. I think you'll see some at the conventions this year.
It'll just be like that poster with the sunset and a date, and that's all people need.
Yeah, that's essentially all. Like, they say, hey, we're going to have a trailer in 2 days, and the internet just loses its collective mind. And that's why you don't see them at things like E3.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you so much for your update. We always look forward to hearing from you. We got to get your feature started sooner than later. Brian Shea from Game Informer, why don't you give out your plugs and whatnot?
Sure. So we just redid our website. We finally have a website that works on your phone, GameInformer.com. But it's also, if you have a big 4K monitor, our images look incredible on that as well. So it's GameInformer.com for the daily stuff. You can subscribe to us. Game Informer magazine. You get digital issue. We got a print issue. Pick your poison. We got you covered. Game Informer on all social media, so at Game Informer on Twitter, Game Informer on Facebook and Google+, and then you can follow me at Brian P. Shea on Facebook, or not Facebook, never mind, scratch that, Twitter and Instagram. Sorry, I got into pitch mode there.
And you don't play.
Wheels start turning, you can't stop it.
And you don't play games with people. We don't give out that tag.
No, screw that. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I jump into matchmaking. I don't really set up like play dates.
I'm always afraid when I see Brian online. I'm like, should we ask him to No, he's probably playing the same game for the millionth time. I'm not going to bother him.
Hell yeah, man. That's always going to be my drug until something else comes,
Well,
so good.
You should play with Gil sometimes.
I like Fortnite just fine. I'm always wanting to play more Fortnite because I've only played a few games of it. I like it. It's just
Come join us. We're all horrible, except for Trevor.
Yeah, we're terrible.
Thank you.
Well,
I put a lot of time into that.
Well, not you.
I'm sure I will outshine your horribleness with my own.
No,
Eric just likes to.
Okay, in that case, yeah.
No, I'll run away.
Yeah, we play squads. Stick together, fight for the team, and then all of a sudden Eric's on the other side of the map.
Like I found a cave with stuff in there.
I played Fortnite chopping down trees. First time, I think like 3 months after it really took off, and I got 12th in my first solo run. I was pretty happy with that. I killed like 4 people.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
I think I hit 4th, and that was only because I hid well into the circle, waiting till the very end.
Jump into the bush, right?
Just sitting there with a gray revolver, pretty much.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for your time, man. We will talk to you next time. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to speak more with our buddy Randy from NECA. And then Giddles also has a movie review for something he recently seen. And it's been one of the worst movies he's seen in a long, long time. So wait for that. We'll be right back.
It's Erik Nagel. Eric, Matt, I think Giddles is in there too. Anyway, the show will be right back.
Attention. Shameless social media plug.
It's Erik Nagel is on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and reluctantly, Snapchat. So follow, like, and subscribe. Would you kindly? We're back with more It's Erik Nagel.
Welcome back to, I don't know what Trevor's doing. Welcome back to It's Erik Nagel.
Some sort of endeavor.
Yeah, exactly. Sans Matt OG, he is out. He'll be back next week. Over the Upside Down is Giddles. Trevs and Devs is over there to the right. And our buddy Randy from NECA Toys sitting right across from me in the Matt OG seat. Hello, Randy. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Thank you for sitting through the Brian Shea segment.
That's cool. Hey, I didn't go to E3 this year, so I got a little Reader's Digest version from him.
There you go.
Cool. Yep.
What is it called? The cheat sheet,
yes,
if you will.
Yes.
We can skip the box office this week because it's no surprise. Incredibles 2, #1 at the box office.
Crushed it.
I want to go see it. Got to figure out some
Well, I don't
time
think
to
it's
go
a
see
surprise. I mean, it made a lot of money. Like I
didn't say it was
a
a surprise. I said to no surprise.
No, but I'm saying it is a surprise though because they made like how much more than they even expected. Like it made like $180 million. The biggest one before that was like $140 million.
Right.
Yeah,
like animated. So I feel like it was a surprise.
All right. All right. We can go with that. It didn't make a lot of money. What isn't a surprise is that people are still complaining about Ocean's 8, which came in at #2, was #1 last week. Did you see that article about Mindy? What's her name from The Office? Mindy Kaling. Said that the movie didn't do well because of white male reviewers and white male critics putting down the movie. Maybe they just didn't want to see another Ocean's movie with all-female cast.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't want to see another Ocean's movie. Like, after the first one, is there any reason to keep watching them? They aren't good.
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, Pacino kind of saved the third one a little bit, like where it held my interest because he was in it. But, yeah, I didn't care. I didn't care at all about this Ocean's 8 movie. And,
right.
I liked the Ocean's,
It only brought in about almost $19 million this.
I mean, I honestly never thought it would hit #1. So the fact that they had a #1 opening week, I was shocked. So and now #2. So get over yourself.
Yeah, total 86 point something million. I will do it. #3 Tag, #4 Solo Star Wars Story, and #5 Deadpool
Tag is
2.
out. I have to see that.
Yeah, Tag just came out and it only premiered at 3. I thought it would overtake Ocean's 8. So I don't know what they're complaining about.
Well,
I don't. It's just you have Ed Helms, Jeremy Renner, Don Draper.
It just seems to be. It seems to be that whenever a popular film or franchise is redone and told in a different story that's not what the traditional way of telling the story was, usually people do get outraged ahead of time. But I don't think anybody was outraged by the female Ocean's 8 coming out. Like there was no buzz. It wasn't like, remember when they did Ghostbusters, right, with the all-female cast? Leading up to that, there was a lot of internet
anger
and hatred and all that stuff before even the story came out, and before the movie came out, people went to see it. It did okay financially. It wasn't a gangbuster, but it did okay, and then it went away. So they keep trying to reboot these popular franchises.
A Ghostbuster.
And then under the guise of, well, the story's not for you this time around. It's for a new audience, a new generation. All right, fine. Like I've said before, it took me a while to learn that. So when they would remake these movies, I wouldn't get mad anymore. It's not for me. It's for a new generation, whatever. But
that's what
now,
the new Willy Wonka will be.
But now the thing is, when they don't do well, they lash out and said, well, we didn't do well because of, in this case, white male critics and white male reviewers. They didn't like this. They didn't give it a chance. That's why the movie didn't do well. Or maybe the movie just sucked. Maybe nobody wanted to see an Ocean's movie with a female cast. Okay. Who knows? It could be a whole bunch of things.
You know what I think it is? I think people just don't know when movies come out anymore. Like, I was at the movies and I was like, oh shit, that's out today. Because everyone's so fucking caught up in all the other horrible shit that's happening in the world that, like, I don't know when movies came out. Like, I didn't even know Tag came out this week and I wanted to see that movie. So, like, I think there's a big thing of people just not knowing that movies are coming out.
Right.
Like, the day Solo came out, I thought Solo came out a week later than it did the week it came out, and I just happened to go because I was at the theater. I was like, oh shit, it wasn't even a sold-out theater. Like, I just think people aren't paying attention to a lot of, like, dates and stuff now.
Well, you used to, like, be constantly looking at commercials on TV and like, oh yeah, that movie's out. I know when movies are coming out because of the Facebook ads, or that's the whole point of the ad on YouTube now. Like, in between what I'm watching on YouTube, it's all trailers.
I don't even see those. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm watching too many good movies like Upgrade and Hereditary.
Oh, I want to see Upgrade still.
Well,
have you seen it, Randy?
Upgrade? No, I don't even know what that is.
Oh my god, dude! It's like John Wick meets The Matrix meets Crank. It's insane. It's this dude, and he gets paralyzed, and they put a computer chip in his neck that controls his limbs, and his limbs are getting revenge for him while he's paralyzed. It's insane.
I'll check it out.
It's really fun. I think you'd dig it.
Solid review on that, right there in a nutshell.
Well, Giddles has a movie review we're going to do in a little bit, but I want to start with Randy for this segment here, since San Diego Comic-Con is coming up, as we discussed last week. Matt and I will not be making our pilgrimage to San Diego this year, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to continue, and a lot of good things are going to happen out there. It's going to be a weird time in the wake of the Chris Hardwick stuff and some other things going on, but things will prevail. One of the things we always looked forward to going out to San Diego was stopping by the NECA Pavilion and seeing all the cool stuff that NECA puts out there. And usually it's some form of Ninja Turtle as one of the centerpieces that Matt OG would go crazy for. And this year is no different, as you're now putting out a different edition of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
What is this?
This is, I like to say, it's the exclusive of San Diego Comic-Con 2018, because so far...
Bold statement and believable.
So far I don't think anyone else has stepped up with anything that even comes close to what we're offering. And this is it's a set of the 1990, the original film, the Henson-style Turtles, all packaged together in a giant VHS-style box, just like the FHE home entertainment videotape that everyone had when they were back in 90 or 91 for Turtles.
Right.
You slide the slipcover off, and then all 4 turtles are inside, tons of weapons, interchangeable hands, everything. And it's the first time in, what is that now, 28 years, I had to do some math, that the Turtles from the film, from the good film, have ever been done correctly in toy form. So people are going pretty nuts for it.
I love the box art that you do, because last year's box art, which was based on the stand-up video game, right?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Stand-up video game was amazing. Because and what was the thing behind April in the game?
Yeah, so it was the old arcade game from the early 90s, and they didn't have the rights to whoever the models were that they used when they shot the photography that appeared on the cabinet.
Which is April in the yellow jumpsuit.
Yeah, it was just some generic model in the yellow jumpsuit. So what we did, Chris Ramo, who you are well familiar with, we photoshopped in his wife's head and just got her to sign a release, and it was done so seamlessly that hardly anyone noticed. Like, even the most diehard fans, we only heard from a couple people that said, hey, wait a minute, that's not the same girl. So it was done very well, and there's 2 images of her that appear, one on the front and one on the side,
right?
Just like the way the arcade cabinet was.
But the box art for it was just as impressive as the actual figures that came inside of it. To the point where, you buy some things where they have the plastic clamshell kind of stuff, protection on it, or they're the hollowed out box where it's cardboard with the cellophane in the middle so you can see what's in there. And sometimes the box art's not important. You just open up, you take the figure out, and you display it, play with it, whatever you want to do. But sometimes you get pieces where the box art is so amazing that either one, you don't take the figure out because the whole piece is just a work of art, or 2, you display the box art and the figure itself. Right. You don't throw the box out when you open your brand new figure. And that can be said, again, with the brand new Turtles that you're debuting this year, with the way it looks as the movie cover with as a VHS tape. Mm-hmm. It's like if you take the figures out and you put them up, great, but you save the box. Absolutely. Put that behind in the glass container or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and we actually designed it all to be like collector friendly, so you can like remove them from the tray and put them back in and slide the slipcover back on if you want. So it's you don't have to destroy or tear or rip anything in the packaging to show it like in or out, which is cool. And like every detail on the box is replicated. So on the back of the old VHS box, they had like 3 specific movie quotes from critics who had reviewed the film, like whether it was Siskel or Ebert or
Gene
I think there was what's that dude, Joel Siegel,
like
one of those guys.
That's what I'm yeah.
So someone, Rex Reed, whatever it was. But what we did, because again, it's all about the detail. I took 3 well-known toy fans or toy critics like Pixel Dan, Zack Ryder from WWE,
Toy of the Year, Funko,
and took their quotes and put them on there attributing to them. So it's just like the way the VHS was, but it's about the toy.
I wish I thought of that, Todd McFarlane.
I bet that said a lot. But yeah, it was a really fun one to do. We sent a few early samples out to the Foosh, Pixel Dan, and Zach, and it's gotten great response. We did some online pre-sales a couple weeks back, and they sold out in
And they're always limited
minutes.
to the amount that you do, because you can only sell these at, like you said earlier, at conventions. That's where you get the licensing from. It's not like you can put them in stores, or there's stores to put them in at this point. But when you get the licensing to do this kind of thing there, you do a limited run. What is the run for this season?
So this season, there's actually 7,000 sets, and it's split up as follows. There's 5,000 sets that are just the Turtles in that VHS box, and then the remaining 2,000 is comprised of the Turtles in that VHS box, packaged along with a street scene diorama that actually has like the Channel 3 logo and has a Foot Clan foot like spray painted on the brick, and it's a 3-level diorama of like a city street with windows and gutters, and you can display probably 30 different action figures within this display comfortably. So it works with like any Marvel figures, DC figures, Turtle figures, obviously, and it just looks cool. And again, that's the only way you can get it.
So is it just luck of the draw to see which one you get?
No, we it's $125 for the Turtle set, $250 for the Turtle set with the diorama, and we put them all up. We allocated a certain amount for pre-sale for non-attendees, and those sold out in minutes a few weeks ago. And then the remainder will go to Comic-Con, and we're going to try to allocate as best we can per day, so everyone gets a chance, and like one per customer and all that, trying to keep the dealer badges out of the line and all that stuff, so the real fans have a chance to
get their hands on them. One of the things that's been fun in the past week or so was seeing Matt OG's frustration on social media, where he's like, damn it, I missed it again. He's like, it's 1 o'clock tomorrow, I'm setting my alarms, I'm doing this.
Yeah, well, fortunately, you guys might know somebody, so you have an in. But yeah, it was fun to watch. It's pretty neat to see something you come up with and start working on a year ago, then like light up the internet the way it does. And we've done 3 Turtle sets, in a row, each San Diego, 3 unique new. We did the arcade 3 years ago. Last year was the cartoon, and then this year the 1990 film. And it seems like we keep outdoing ourselves. We're making more quantity-wise each year, and they're selling out faster. So it's pretty gratifying, and it's a great nostalgia trip for us too. I remember going to see that movie in the theater when it opened up when I was in high school.
I remember going too. I remember being surprised at how dark the movie was, and not just dark in tone, but dark as how the movie was shot.
Right.
Like you were really squinting before you saw the debut of the Turtles. There was what was the opening? Was it the mugger scene in the park? That it was, where you're watching everything, and it's like you're squinting in the theater, like trying to see. You know when you get a new TV and you don't balance it right. And you're trying to see a really dark setting, and it's sort of a gray outline, but you're not really getting it. That's how that movie was, and you're like, wow. And then they reveal the Turtles, but every time there was night shots, if they were down in the sewers, if they were up on the building with Shredder, it was shot very dark.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It wasn't a night background where it was well lit so you can see everything. Everything was sort of gritty, New York City realistic for the time.
Yeah.
It was a dark movie, and I really enjoyed that because it didn't take you out at any spot where sometimes now, because the Turtles are green, they have to be in certain scenarios where the green pops. Mm-hmm. Like there's some kind of black light effect to them so that they're very vivid to contrast whatever they're fighting. Like if you got a sea of purple foot soldiers going on or whatever, that they stand out. No, this was like, it's like you either pay attention and see it, or you missed it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And we noticed that because we go through and scrutinize these movies like more than or as much as someone who's actually editing the film, like when it's being made. So we have to get everything right as far as detail goes. And there's times that we're making screen grabs and like going into Photoshop and playing with the brightness and the contrast and everything to see more detail without blowing it out completely. Fortunately for the Turtles, we were able to track down some of the original suits, so we really got great reference when we did those. But we've been working on the Foot Clan and Shredder really since last summer, and getting good quality reference on all the detail. It's not easy because it is so dark and tough to see.
Well, 2 things for future con releases, if you're going to continue doing with the Turtle license. One is, and he's at a lot of conventions, is Kevin Nash who was Super Shredder
Right, in the second one.
in the second movie, which people
Right.
don't know. So you can always get him for scale, to do the outline for whatever you need to do. But the other thing is, if you get the rights to do a Casey Jones character, CM Punk has been trying for years to do anything as Casey Jones for any kind of Turtle project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he loves that character. He thinks he's done. There's some photos where he's dressed up. He's done cosplay as Casey Jones. So if you ever need, another box model for
That's cool.
something
I
like
wonder if
that,
we
you
did-
could reach out to him. I'm sure he'd love to do
We
it.
did a replica of Casey's mask this year from the film. I wonder if he has it. I'll have to check.
I'm
Maybe I'll
sure he
send-
does. You can
I'll
reach
send
out to him.
one. Yeah.
You know who else is a big fan of your company is his wife.
Oh, yeah?
AJ Mendez.
Okay.
She was AJ Lee in the WWE. She is an uber geek nerd. She has her own Funko Pops, but she has a lot. Like you see photos of her office, she has a lot of collectibles from
Awesome.
all different toy worlds. All you'd have to say is like, look, we'll open the vault for 10 minutes if you
Yeah.
agree to do this, and
Yeah, I'll
I'm
hit
sure
him
that
up.
he'd be all over it.
That's fantastic. We've had a great relationship with Zach, so that's gotten a lot of exposure, and he's legit. He's always at Funko doing stuff there, like Funko employee for the day.
we're in that new Funko documentary.
Oh yeah, I
that
saw
Making
that. You were
Fun
at the
New York
Kevin
Comic-Con.
Smith- I thought okay. And
Well,
there's-
no, I did the Kevin Smith Funko thing, but the documentary that just came out that's on Netflix.
Right.
They shot some footage at last year's 2017's New York Comic-Con, and you see Gittles, Matt, and myself talking with
Brian,
not with Brian, with our pal. Why am I spacing out his name? God damn it, Mark.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're standing there with Mark, and we're doing the interview, and they talking to another Funko employee right here. So right over his shoulder, you see us doing our interview.
Okay.
And that was also the same time where we got to talk to Zach because he was on the floor with us. Zach just decided to pick up boxes and started signing the boxes. So what they do is when the celebrities are at these cons, they sign them and then they hide them within the display. So it's chance of the luck of the draw.
That's
and
cool.
you're paying the exact price as if it wasn't signed, and then all of a sudden you look and it's like it's
Get an
signed by
autographed one.
the person that it's, because Kevin Smith does it. He loves doing that. He goes to the store in I forgot where
It's
in
in
Washington
Seattle
is
or
now.
somewhere
Yeah.
in Washington.
He goes up there. They do appearances for them, for Comic Book Men. Any of the celebrities that go in there, they sign their figures and then they put them on the shelves.
That's cool.
And that's kind of cool thing to do, where they're not charging you
Right.
for it.
It's
It's
just
just
a chase.
it just happens to be there. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if you could do something with Punk and Casey Jones, I know he would be up for it if you
Okay.
reached out to him. And they're both huge toy lovers.
Awesome.
So you just say, look, well, let's make a deal here for it. He'll promote the hell out of that thing. Because it's not a wrestling thing,
Right.
which he'll be all about, and two, it's a passion project.
Nice. Yeah, I'll reach out to him tomorrow for sure.
And if you get that deal done, I would like one box, please.
Absolutely.
So you have the Turtles for there. Is
Yep.
there any other con exclusives that you have?
Yeah, we have a whole bunch actually. So speaking of, people are toy nerds or collectors, we have a figure of Guillermo del Toro, who not only is a
Nice.
great director, but he's also a gigantic nerd
Yep.
like us. I used to see him walking the floor of Comic-Con, just as an attendee, shopping and checking everything out. So we've
I
been
think we
working.
told you have to go to his. He has two houses.
Yeah, I've
and
never
the one
been to the
house is
house.
just a museum of all his
Yeah.
collectibles.
I went to the he had an exhibit, with some of his stuff at LACMA. I went there, and I have his book, of course, and we worked with him a lot on the first Pacific Rim, and then we've been doing a collaboration together for the last 2 years, which is just hitting now, basically on the films he controls, and we're financed by himself and his group of investors, like The Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth. So we have a whole bunch of collectibles coming out for those. So we figured, what else could we do? And we did a figure of Guillermo del Toro for Comic-Con,
Right.
Which it turned out really, really nice. And
It's
I think
always
a cool
fun
piece.
when they make the creator figures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Kid Robot years ago made a Matt Groening figure for The Simpsons.
We did too in our Simpsons thing.
Oh, that's right. You did
Yeah.
too for the
Yep.
25th anniversary line. The Matt Groening. Funko did a series of directors that they put out. Was very limited on what they
Yeah.
put out there.
We did a bunch of stuff with Tarantino over the years. We've done him as a figure at least 3 different times.
I have a no, I don't have one of your figures. Damn it, I thought I did.
We did him from Kill Bill. We did
Yeah,
him from Grindhouse.
I thought I had that and I don't.
And we did him from Hateful Eight. So we've done it at least 3 times. And because he's the same way, he loves pop culture, he loves toys, he loves.
I have his figure. It was Funko put out a line that looks like the Kenner line called Reaction.
Yeah, Reaction, right?
And I had his figure, and I was trying to get it signed when he was on the show, and it was just busy. He was in and out of the morning show, but then he needed to do something came up where he had to do a conference call, so we gave him our office, and I had left it on my desk. And he picked it up. He saw there. He grabbed the marker, started signing and drawing all on it.
That's cool.
And I'm sitting there. I'm just outside the office while he's on a phone call and everything. And I come back in, and I'm like, "Oh my God, he signed the thing!" And his assistant was there, and he's like, "Yeah." He freaked out when he saw it. He was looking all over your guy's desk looking for a Sharpie, and then found one and signed the thing.
That's cool.
And I was like, how great would it have been if I didn't want him to sign it? I just had the figure and he ruined it. And she started laughing.
You owe me a figure. No, he's super cool. We've done some events with him, and we did an autograph signing with him.
Yeah.
And Robert Rodriguez at Comic-Con a number of years ago, and he was super cool, gracious to all the fans, and just a really cool guy.
So you got the Guillermo del Toro figure coming out, which I would love to see. That's
awesome.
It's
awesome. We have all the pictures and everything online, and I can get you some samples of some of the
Where
stuff
online
too.
can they go and look at that?
NECAonline.com or NECA Official on Facebook, and NECA on Instagram, and NECA_toys on Twitter. So any of those places. There's full galleries and everything. And then speaking of the creators, this one's kind of fun because it is a creator. It's a director who's doing the new Predator film, Shane Black. But he actually starred in the '87 Predator film with Arnold and Jesse and Carl Weathers. He was Hawkins. So
okay.
It's kind of funny. In the '80s, he wrote a lot of stuff like the first Lethal Weapon. He was a prolific writer and actor at the time. So he was in the first Predator, and then years later, he's directed stuff. Most recently, like Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, and now the new Predator film. So
did you release a figure of his old Predator character?
We are for Comic-Con, yeah.
Oh,
so he's
wow.
never been done, and I got to go up to Vancouver when they were filming the new Predator, and it was night shoots, and one night I was in one of the little tents, where they're watching the monitors and everything, and I got to spend some time talking to him and sort of pitch the idea, hey, would you do a Hawkins figure? Because under the license, Fox only has the Predator, the creature. They don't have the rights to any of the human characters or likenesses. So we've had to make deals with Arnold and basically do everything separately and individually per talent. And so I asked him, and his first reaction was kind of like, does anyone want a figure of Hawkins? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, the more of Dutch's team we can do, the better. And it's perfect synergy because we can put it out around the time you're promoting the new film. Like, hey, this guy starred in the first film, now he's the director that's sort of carrying on the franchise.
Right.
And they said yes, so that's a really cool figure. So Rick Hawkins from the first, he's the one who tells all the dirty jokes.
Right.
Yeah. So
what are your thoughts on the new Predator trailer? Have you watched it?
I have. I'd like to see more. For me, I'm a Predator, like, and same with Alien. I'm a monster guy. I want to see the monsters. I don't necessarily need or want to see the human drama.
Yeah.
Especially
just get to the human killing.
That's
parts.
what happened with the when they just redid Godzilla, where Godzilla, one, it was nice that he was fighting an untraditional foe, right? Whatever that Moth thing, what everyone thought was Mothra, but it turns out not to be Mothra. When he's fighting that thing, but then once the Bryan Cranston story part is gone, where they set up everything, then they kept following the storyline with the human. It's like, we don't need that anymore.
Yeah, with the son and the kid trapped on the
just
train
have them
and all
running
stuff.
away, or the military trying to fight both of them. Something that's where you show the human part of the story. You don't need to see everything else while the monster's resetting somewhere else.
Exactly. I mean, Shane's made some great movies. I loved The Nice Guys. I thought it was fantastic. So I have hopes, that are optimistic. Being on set was super cool. I mean, I grew up as a Predator fan. Again, remember seeing it in the theater when it opened. So to be in Vancouver at like midnight watching some 7-foot tall dude in a Predator costume throwing
everything's in
around.
Vancouver. All the CW shows, anything that's pretty much shot in New York that they don't have time to do in New York, they do in Vancouver.
It's a lot cheaper
because they built a lot of the city to mimic, more generic areas of New York City.
Yeah, when I was there, the second Deadpool was shooting there too. Actually, they shared the building where the production offices were for Predator. It was Predator and Deadpool right together.
It'd be great if there was a teaser where something's going on in a jungle setting. There's Predator and Deadpool shows up and they just cross paths.
That would be a hell of a movie.
He went that way.
Just high five.
Thanks. Yeah.
That would be cool. So yeah, we have Hawkins, we have Del Toro, we have the Turtles. Those are the heavy hitters, I'd say, that people seem to really be excited about.
Are you going to hide stuff within the display case?
That's probably,
because that's one of my favorite things. Is Randy before you released the Contra figures,
right?
You had the little power pellet thing.
The power-up capsule.
The power-up capsule.
Hidden in the jungle.
One year we're there, and Randy has this thing, and he's telling me, he's like, I'll let you in. He's like, we're hiding something in the case. What is it? And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you. I got to do some other interviews. You look around and see if you see anything. So we looked, didn't see it, came back. Later on, you told us what it was. And they do a little teaser of something hidden in the display case where it's sort of hinting at what's to come in the future, which is a great thing if you knew nothing about it. But if you did know, it's like, well, that NECA does this every year. Yeah. You're tearing that thing inch by inch, trying to find, like, what are they secretly teasing?
Yeah, it's like a toy version of Where's Waldo. But yeah, it started just for fun. Like, we have this stuff done, and we can't, like, necessarily sometimes officially announce we're doing it, or licensing isn't, contract's not signed yet or whatever. But it's like, let's just plant or hide something within the display, just because we know how excited the fans are. Like, they scrutinize every image. If we ever take a picture inside our studio and tweet it out or put it on Instagram or whatever, like, people blow it up. They go nuts trying to, like,
it's like a Where's Waldo picture.
They're like, what is this? What are they working on? They're looking at everything in the background.
Yeah, never hide bodies in there.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, a year ago when
arm is that?
When I first talked with Shane Black about that whole thing, I had been at a deli for lunch that day, and the bottle of Diet Coke, the name on it when they had the names was Hawkins. So I brought it back and deliberately took a picture in the studio with that in the background, just sort of like planting that seed. And people were like, Hawkins, they're going to do Hawkins. But that was like a year ago, but it's just like, it was just coincidence. But anything that's like fun, because I mean, ultimately, it's toys. It should be fun. Like, we have a lot of fun making them.
No, there's a lot of fun, not just to what you guys put out, but the specialty items you put out, and then the fun of, it's very subtle fun at the NECA displays at the conventions, because like we told you, you're looking through the display cases. They're not making a big deal. Right. There's not a huge over-the-top line for tickets to get tickets like Hasbro or Mattel or Funko or some of these bigger companies that are just too big at this point, where it's hard for the regular collector, the regular fan to touch it, to get some experience with it. But NECA makes a lot of fun, has a lot of fun with putting out what they do.
Yeah, really, it's what it should be about, and the least amount of frustration for the fans. Like, you're spending all this money to travel to San Diego to be at this show. Why should you spend half your time standing in lines or waiting on one line for a ticket to go wait on another line to come back at another time? It's like, why create this whole freaking circus, So we try to make it as easy and as user-friendly as possible. And I like to get out there and talk to the fans, be in the aisles and answering questions and taking pictures.
Yeah, you're always available. You're doing the rounds outside of your booths, and you see film crews from blogs and websites all around, and then international too. There was a Japanese crew talking to you one year with the guy. Was talking to you in English and then translating it to the camera, everything you were saying.
Yeah, we had like Portuguese or Brazil, anyone, I mean, it's so cool that we have fans all over the world, and then the positive side of the internet, even though there's so much hate and people bitching over everything, but there's also the fact that we have such direct communication and accessibility to fans all over the world, to know that there's people in countries and places I'll probably never go to or see that collect our stuff or know who we are and have displays of our stuff in their homes or their offices is amazing.
I think it's your Instagram for a while does the NECA collectors of the day of the week.
They still are, the week,
And you see some of these people where they have like these, what do they call the casing like this? It's not clamshell casing.
That is a clamshell. It is there's either clamshell or blister card.
When you have a figure like this in the clamshell casing that has the hook for the store, the retail hook, that they're mounted on the wall,
Right.
and that's just how they display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's almost like a museum.
The incredible thing, especially with the technology that's in the phones now, is all the toy photographers, and they're blowing up all over Instagram. Like, I'm marveling at some of the pictures people take. They take the toys out, as long as they get scale right. They take like predators out into the jungle or the woods. They take turtles. There's a guy who keeps taking his turtles out into New York and Times Square, and then gets the perspective right, and it's like it looks like a movie still.
Of where they're located in the movie?
Yeah,
it's
it's fantastic. So I mean, there's times that I'll just like go on Instagram and go down a rabbit hole looking at people just taking pictures of our toys, and like I'll just like it, and I'll see them like, oh my god, that guy from NECA liked my picture, but it's like they're doing awesome stuff with
You're kind of a big deal, Randy.
I'm not at all.
It would be great with this new set out. Now he gets the new set and he tries to recreate some of the scenes from the movie. Where it's like, this is the mugging scene, and then he gets mugged for those figures.
Let's hope not.
And
that could happen.
becomes
they're
very
a hot commodity.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of fun, man. It's cool, and the fan reaction to stuff. Like you said, San Diego, they're waiting online to buy it, and just seeing what they do with it afterward. Whether it's hanging on the wall, putting it on a shelf, or taking it out in your yard and taking pictures, it's all of it's cool.
Well, unfortunately, we won't be able to see you in San Diego this year, which I do look forward to.
I know we always do our ice cream pilgrimage.
Yeah,
too.
well, Randy. Here's one of the cool things why Randy is awesome to work for is they have somebody they hire out there whose solo job is just to make In-N-Out runs. So this guy or girl goes and just does these insane orders for In-N-Out, sometimes twice a day.
It's true.
And then during the trip, you have your pilgrimage to Giardelli's, which is an insane ice cream shop.
Yeah, with the Giardelli chocolate.
Well, you're looking for a way to go. I mean, just apply.
You know what? I have nothing to do in July. I'd gladly
take the private plane this year. See if there's room for one more.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Oh yeah, Randy's a bit of a jet setter because he has
It's not my plane.
He has
like
the
a
private
net jet?
plane that he goes out there, but then he leaves before it's over. And but he has family and everything, so he leaves before it's over. But he's in and out during the really crucial parts of the convention, and then he's gone before the whole.
Yeah, I'm there for preview night
dispatch.
and Thursday and Friday, and then the weekend I come back. Kids priorities. But heck, I've been doing it for 19 years straight, so it's nice to.
Your kids are old enough now. Do they like any of your toy line, or
Yeah,
are they properties that they're not familiar with?
Well, some of it's definitely a little too, edgy that I wouldn't show them yet. Like I haven't even shown them Gremlins. Like my oldest is only 8, and I have enough trouble sleeping through the night. I don't need them getting up with nightmares and all that.
Okay.
So we'll wait. But like Turtles, they both love, and they both love Star Wars because I always have Star Wars stuff everywhere. And the cuter stuff, some of the stuff we do with Kid Robot, like the Yummy World, the plush and stuff like that.
Right.
They know Gizmo just because it's cute and friendly, but haven't seen the film. I brought home like Crash Bandicoot just because it's cool and it's fun to play with. They've never played the game, but I kind of pick and choose. I've gone to their schools to speak to their respective classes as like a guest or hey, this is what my dad does kind of thing. And I always bring the superhero stuff we do. So I'll bring Spider-Man.
So not only is Randy the envy of the children, but all the fathers that are there for. They're like, hey, dude, can you give me that Predator figure?
I'm definitely
go
lucky,
back to my
man.
stupid law firm job, but I need a Spider-Man on my desk.
I would like walk my daughter to school every day, and I'm in shorts and a T-shirt, and I go to work the same way, And
What does your father do? He plays with toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apparently at one time when I was younger, I didn't know what my dad did, like really young. So
he's in construction.
When I had to when I was there and they said, well, what does your father, your parents do for a living? And I said, my dad plays video games. That was on the thing. So when they went to their first parent-teacher conference, and she goes, I got to ask you. She goes, your son says you play video games for a living. Is that your job? My dad's like, what?
Was your dad a big gamer or something?
Well, he would play games that I would play.
Okay.
Just for something to do. But you're talking about the Commodore 64. You're talking about the Intellivision. So
Right.
the games were not like what they are now.
Yeah.
So we would play baseball, or football for the Intellivision, or one of the games I used to play was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
It was a side-scroller game, and there was like 5 different levels, and then you repeat them, and they get harder and add different things. So because he worked all the time, I would write down my score of what it is, and then he would allegedly he would play at night when I was in bed, and then he'd write down his score, only to find out years later, and it's the smart thing, that he would just up my score by a couple thousand. So I would think that, oh my God, now I'd play again in the afternoon home from school trying to beat the score.
Right.
And it would take me a while till I would beat that score, and then whatever it was, he would just add like 2,000 to it.
Yeah.
And then I find out many years later, he's like, yeah, I played the game once. I didn't know what I was doing.
That was a good motivator.
I'm picturing your dad like leaving school, like, Eric's gonna need an extra life when I get home.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For some reason, I picture him like as a scientist trying to solve like cancer, and his son's like, hey, he plays video games.
No, my
He's
dad.
saving the world.
My dad was in the record industry, and then he left that and was just doing high finance stuff.
Wow.
So all he did was work. So I never saw him a lot.
Right.
Especially during certain times of the year, he was just working around the clock. But I remember that he would just write down the video game scores. What, Gills?
I was gonna say, he even missed that time Santa showed up, and then you look at the picture and your dad is Santa.
Oh, son of a bitch!
I didn't have that storybook childhood that we like to imagine. But anyway, it was a
that got dark.
It was a good life. So I forgot where it was. Oh, we were gushing over Giardelli's. I'll miss that too. But we'll have fun. Definitely put everything up on social media. Let us see what we're missing there and whatnot.
Yeah, besides the exclusives, tons of new reveals. There's a whole lot of secrets, new licenses, some stuff that's crazy.
I left that off because Matt wasn't coming tonight, and I said, "Well, what do you want to ask?" And Turtles was the big thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, ask what's coming for the future. And now I know not to ask that because all the reveals are happening at San Diego.
In the past, especially when you had that anniversary show at the brewery, I think I let some stuff slip. One of those shows. But
have some more strawberry beer there.
Yeah, but there's some great like out of left field stuff that no one's done or haven't thought of before. So we have some really cool new announcements to make, which that's the stuff that's always the most fun because no one knows we're doing it yet, and so it's like dropping bombs as soon as the show starts.
How do you, in terms of your licensing, how do you convince people to do it when sometimes some properties are probably getting pitched ideas from bigger outfits, and that maybe have deeper pockets? How do you convince these people to go with you guys? Is it because you guys, and we've said this before, that you guys think outside of the box where you go the different route of a character? Like we talked about your Jason and Freddy collection where you did the 8-bit Nintendo style figures and the Batman figures where everybody else has a Batman license to do whatever. You went a different route with some kind of unique portion of the license. Is that how you get people to sign with you to do these things?
I have to say with a lot of the nostalgia, the legacy brands, there isn't as much competition because there's unfortunately just the state of the retail climate and the economy being what it is. There's not a lot of companies like us doing what we do. Hasbro and Mattel don't care about Gremlins or Alien or Predator
because it's not current.
So it's not current and it's too old. They want to sell to 5, 6, 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
They don't want to sell to my customer. So with those, there isn't that many companies vying for the same stuff. When there's something new, here's a good example. You guys were talking about it before. Fortnite. That's a big one that no one's doing.
Is this a reveal?
It's not a reveal.
Trevor, NECA's making Fortnite figures.
Yes.
Can you make the big foam axe?
We would like to.
Okay.
And we are pursuing it, but so are many others. So we'll see. Now, I have history with...
If you put out a bus tied with balloons, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm down.
That's one we would like. I'm putting it out there. We want it. We know Epic and People Can Fly, the studios. We've done Gears of War. We did Bulletstorm with these guys. We have history with them, but this is a whole different ballgame, and the thing is huge, and everyone wants it, from retailers to consumers. And it's also tough to even pin down a real merchandise program since everything's so customizable and different. It's like
there's new skins daily.
Yeah, there are some iconic things like the pickaxe and stuff like that, and certainly the visual identity of the main four that they show you could do figures of. But that's something. Oh my God!
If you had a gold treasure chest that you hit the button and it makes the noise like as you approach it, it's like, oh my God, there's a treasure chest
at the bottom or something.
Yeah,
I mean, there's great stuff there. So I'm putting it out there. We don't have it. We absolutely want it, but so do
you heard it here first. NECA's making Fortnite.
We are not.
Yes,
I have to make this explicitly clear.
All the superheroes.
But that's an example of something new that's hot that everyone wants.
Right.
But a lot of the legacy stuff, it's kind of some of the things we're doing or that you're going to see at San Diego and be like, well, that makes perfect sense for us, and you couldn't see too many other people doing it. We tend to stay in that M-rated game territory and R-rated film territory. We like the edgier stuff, and a lot of our stuff's labeled 17 and up, and I'm all about the 80s. You know, that's, to me, that's where the best everything, the best movies, the best music, is the best time. So,
are you enjoying Weezer's cover of Africa?
I am. I am. It's probably the only Weezer thing I've ever enjoyed. It might taste a little harder than that, but I think that's cool. I remember. Do you guys know that the guy from Toto is the son of John Williams?
Yep.
The famous film composer.
Oh, that's
I knew that because I looked it up because I got into Toto like a couple of years ago. I was like, man, these guys are really good, but they're the ugliest band I've ever seen. Like, how did these guys make it famous? And then I was like, oh wait, they're all just children of famous people, and they're just really good studio musicians who just did their own thing.
Yeah, I mean,
and then when I found out that the lead singer was John Williams' son, like, this all makes sense.
John Williams, you know, he's very old school. He's like, I'm just paying for this stupid band that my kid's doing just to get him out of the house.
They had a few hits.
Writing about it, Africa now.
Africa,
God.
Rosanna.
Kid's never been to Africa. How is he writing a song about it? I like Curmudgeon. I know. Crunchy John Williams.
He's still
Stupid
going.
kid in his damn band. I'm sitting here composing masterpieces. He's like, his kid's rocking out. He's like, I'm making Jaws.
That's probably how it happened.
It's like, John Williams is surly.
I know that, and that's when he wrote "Toe the Line" because he was like, "Oh, I'm really annoying dad now."
So I taught you some John Williams or Toto trivia tonight.
You did.
But yeah, so I mean, it's fun. You know, we do current stuff obviously too, but it's a balance. But I love the nostalgia brands, obviously, and like we've been doing classic Alien and Predator forever. But when there's a new film, you know, like Alien Covenant, or in the case The Predator for 2018, we're supporting that as well.
I was going to say, like, to piggyback on what Brian Shea and I were talking about earlier, if you haven't seen the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer, that game has got some really cool characters.
Yeah,
like androids who can take their faces off and shit. Like, that would be a really cool property.
I was actually making notes in my phone as he was talking about it, because I had seen stuff a few years ago, but it's been so long, and it's like, when is this thing ever happening? So it looks like it's getting closer, and that is really cool. You know, he also mentioned Naughty Dog, and like we've done Uncharted, and then the reboot of Crash Bandicoot, and God of War this year with Sony. So we've done a lot of Sony brands, and Last of Us I think is awesome. And you know, if they do another game, like, I want to be a part of that. You know, it's a fantastic franchise that has no merchandise. Not? So.
You know, you hear Rosanna playing, and he's like, I'm making a movie about dinosaurs!
I should have never mentioned this.
Stupid kid.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, all right, we should get out of here. Let's do the plugs, go around the room. Randy, where can everybody find out all the great information about NECA?
Okay, so NECAonline.com or NECA Official on the Facebook. If they want to bitch at me directly, which a lot of people do, it's NECA_toys on Twitter. Also, Instagram's NECA Official. And we will be at San Diego Comic-Con starting July 18th, if that's the Wednesday. I think so, 18th through the 22nd.
All right. Do you have your booth number and everything for San Diego, or not yet?
We do, but I have no idea what it is, so I'll worry about it when
Follow them on social media. They'll reveal all in due time.
Absolutely.
Giddles, what do you have?
Giddlebase on the Twitter, Instagram, and Xbox Live, and that's all I got. I was supposed to do a pop-up this Sunday, but I had to back out, so I'm not doing that anymore. So don't show up.
Okay, don't go to that pop-up there. Trevor, what do you have?
At BTG Trevor on Twitter. We now are an army of 12 followers. I would like it to grow a little bit more, including the ladies that love the Trevs and Devs, which I will change your mind about at some point. I'll disappoint you. And I guess that's it. I mean, me and Giddles were supposed to do the Gotti review, but we can save that.
All right, well, we'll do that another time. Anything else?
No, Fortnite.
Okay. Look for him on the Xbox there. For me, it's E-Rock Radio across the board on social media, but for the show, it's Erik Nagel across the board. We got the Instagram up and running again, so we're throwing stuff up there. Find that out. Subscribe to the show, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you find your shows. We're available there. Also, very important, a condensed version of the show is available on YouTube each and every week. So if you want the full show, subscribe to the feeds. If you're at work and you just want to the quick hits or the meat of the program, go to YouTube and you can get it there. I think that's about it. All right, so
World Cup's happening. That's all I've been doing. Sorry, I just had like a flashback of what I did earlier today.
Who cares? No one cares.
The world cares. It's the World Cup.
The world cares, but America doesn't care, and that's what's important. All right, that's it. Till the next time, everybody, be excellent to each other, and we'll be seeing you.
It's Erik Nagel. And that's all the time we have. Follow the show